Push Effect Podcast in full effect. We are live, and this is a special one. This is a Mother's Day edition episode of the Push Effect Podcast, and we have the lovely Adana, which also so happens to be my mother.
Yes.
So how are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. If you can you pull the mic up a little bit? There you go. You traveled all the way from Raleigh just to come see me on this lovely Mother's Day. Right. So,
yes.
So I just wanted to give the people a little background about yourself and where are you from?
I was born and bred Raleigh, North Carolina. Been there all my life except when I went to North Carolina Central University, Eagle Pride.
Right.
And then came back home, started working, and just retired 31 years ago. 31 years after working 31 years. So I'm just enjoying life.
Okay, that's really good. So how was it growing up in the household when you were growing up?
Being the youngest of five, at times you always got your way. A lot of times you got your way as the youngest. Mm-hmm. So I have great siblings, since we're talking about mothers, I had a great mother, and she's just a wonderful woman of God. She taught me a lot about God and my faith and what it meant to be a mom when I decided to be a mom and how to rear my children. She just taught me so much, knowingly and unknowingly. She taught me, what it was and the value of it because she just enjoyed it so much. She enjoyed being a mom. In that era, she was a stay-home mom. So, she stayed home. When I got home from school, she was there. Went off to school, she was there. So that was just a great time in my life. But then, of course, like I said, being the youngest of five, it was just always, something going on in the household. 2 girls in the beginning, 2 guys underneath. So I'm more of a tomboy, than anything else.
Did anything ever kind of stick out that your mom had taught you that you still use today?
Everything.
Any old tricks, any old sayings, anything like that?
She always just said, use what's in your hands. And so meaning that whatever you have available, that's what you use. That's what you go with. You can always make the most of whatever's there. But if you don't act like anything's there, then you're not ever going to make the most of anything. So whatever's there, then you use the most of it. Isn't that what I taught you?
Yeah. Yeah. Just make the most out of everything.
That's right.
Yeah. Just keep your head high. And so when being in that household, you had how much? Aunt Deborah, Uncle Gary, Uncle Alton. I said Uncle Gary already. Aunt Gwen. What was kind of one of those craziest or funniest stories that you have for us, or that you're allowed to tell?
Our ages are so spread out. Aunt Gwen, your aunt, is 17 years older than me, so she was really already in high school, going on about a lot of her life, and then, Aunt Deborah's 10 years older, and she more or less helped, in the latter phases, as I was getting older. And then, Uncle Gary and Uncle Alton, they were right there. So I think some of the craziest things, we didn't really have a crazy household. We just had a really loving household, although we were so spread out in age. But I think the things that I most remember supporting, Uncle Gary and Uncle Alton in their sports. That's why I'm a big sports fan. That's why I'm always supporting you and Christian. So, just always supporting, just being there. We were always a support. We weren't always knitted at the same time, always in the same place, but we always knew we could support and would support each other anytime. So that's what I think. So no crazy story, but just, a good household. I think the best time always is Christmas. I'm big on Christmas and just in my household. So if there was anything that Mama made a big deal about, not just because it's Jesus' birthday, but she always liked to see us happy, always liked to, watch us open up the gifts, just like I do now. You're like, Mama, you open up your gifts, but I like to see you guys open up your gifts because that's what makes me happy. So no real crazy things, just more loving things.
Okay. So when we talk about that, we're still on this, just the whole family aspect topic, because you know how we're big on family. And then so being that a lot of the ages, there's a lot of age gaps within the household, was there anybody that you kind of looked up to the most or just draw to?
Probably Aunt Daryl only because we were 10 years apart, and in between us, is Alton and Gary. So as far as another female, then besides Mama, then she would be the one. But no one I really looked up to more so than anybody. Everybody played a major role in my life, molded me in some form or fashion. Everybody had something to do in my life. So I didn't really look up to any of my siblings more so than anybody else. Of course, parents-wise, yes, but not sibling-wise.
Okay. What were some of your passions growing up?
I am an outdoors person. I grew up in the country, so I know how to slop pigs, milk a cow.
Oh gosh.
All that kind of good stuff.
Right.
So because we had relatives that lived nearby us that actually were farmers, had corn and all those types of things, then that's what I grew up around and had a great time, doing that. So that was just being in the outdoors, appreciating nature, following behind my brothers. They were always doing something outside. I got a nice jumper. I got a jumper.
Right.
Nice jumper. I know how to throw a football. All those kinds of things that, having two older brothers, that's what it means. Either you're going to be in the house by yourself, or either you're going to come with us and do what we do.
Right.
And so that's it. But then, of course, as you know, dance is my major passion. So I was put in dance when I was real young, not real young, at 7. And, and that has traveled thus far, still dancing even today.
Right. And then you started out at, where did you actually start out dancing?
I started out at Raleigh School of Dance Arts. It no longer exists.
Right.
But I started out under the director, Walter Stroud, who molded me immensely. He just undergirded me. He, was always in my corner. And in that time frame, there were not a lot of African-American dancers, especially in classical ballet. That's what I'm trained in, classical ballet and point. So I didn't have anyone to look to. So he undergirded me always. Like I said, was in my corner and taught me, yeah, you can do this. You can go far with this if you want to go far with it. So.
And then how did that translate into what you actually do now? So, well, actually, did you dance in school, like high school, middle school, or anything like that? Or did that translate from the cheerleading days?
Yes. I danced until I got to high school.
Right.
And had some crazy thought to become a cheerleader. Nothing wrong with being a cheerleader.
Yeah.
But I stopped dance for a period of time to become a cheerleader.
Right.
I thought I wanted to be a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader in my lifetime. So stopped dance for a while and started cheering, and then got injured, and then went back to dance after a while. But that took place for a little bit of while.
Okay.
And then I came to my senses and realized that dance was really my passion. That was my strong suit. And how it's translated now is to, once I became a believer, accepted Christ as my Lord and Savior, then it translated it being able to do it in the church. And then now that I'm retired, reopening Ignite Dance School, which is what I do now in some of my retirement time.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that part later, so I won't dive into that too much. And so, I mean, you danced all through my life.
I danced with you while I was pregnant with you, of course.
What? Oh, yeah, you did. You did tell me that. Tell the people about that story.
Yeah, I always danced with you, as far as they would allow me to dance. After a while, our pastor was like, okay, you're good. We can't have you dancing anymore. We just want you to be, careful. But yeah, danced and wonderful form of exercise. So for any ladies that are pregnant, always seek out some type of exercise. I come from a health background, so I got to scoot in some health there. Coming from a maternal and women's health background, I always encourage women to be as active as possible with the doctor's supervision, with their knowledge that you want to be active during the pregnancy, but always make sure that they're active because it's going to make labor a lot easier for any mom.
Okay. And so, well, that was actually a great segue into where I was going. And then basically what made you, okay, so we danced in high school and translating over to college. What was life like? Why did you want to go into the field that you decided to go into? Like, what made you get to that point?
Maybe like many other people, I kept changing my major.
Exactly.
and finally settled in.
How many majors did you change?
I'm not even sure.
Like Brianna?
Yes.
Like my cousin Brianna, she's changed a couple of majors. But
Couple of times. So maybe 3 times.
3 times?
And finally
okay, well, I was
settled
2.
in.
I was 2. Brianna's like 10.
She is not. So, so finally settled into health education and fell in love with it. You know, sometimes things are just by happenstance. I definitely didn't go into it going to college saying that I'm going to be a health educator, I'm going to major in public health education. It was just something that I fell into, and very thankful, you know, that I did. You know, God always has a plan. And then when I left college, started working in a women's health clinic and realized that women were my passion because we're just so uniquely made. And then from there, I went to Wake County Human Services and was fortunate enough to work in maternal and women's health. That was my area the whole 31 years I was there. Have a love for women, the love, the love of making sure that we're taken care of, understanding the importance of how our body works, and, you know, making sure that we respect our bodies so that other people will respect our bodies as well. So making sure, I tell everybody, male or female, this is the only body you get. You don't get a second chance at having a body. So making sure we're taking care of it from the inside out. But just very fortunate, very blessed to have a great career at Wake County Human Services in maternal and women's health.
Yeah. So let's talk about passions for a second. So when did you know that you had a passion for that? Because a lot of things that we come across, we don't even have the knowledge of certain things, and then we start to gain that traction about a passion. So it's just one of those things that just came about. So how did that even transpire, or how did you know like this is something I can see myself doing for a little while?
It happened from the women's health clinic that I worked at when I first got out of college, and they were very big on education. They wanted me, they were like, come here, look under the microscope, look what this looks like, and this is what this is about, and this is what's happening here, and this is why she has this. And they just taught me a lot. They taught me things I wasn't really supposed to be knowing because I didn't come from a medical background. I came from a health background. So they taught me how to draw blood. They just taught me, how to use a centrifuge. They taught me so much about the medical and the health side, and just the importance of, why it's so awesome, to be a woman. And then I had the opportunity to, can I tell a story?
Go ahead.
Then I had the opportunity to meet a young lady who came in, and she was maybe 14 or 15, and she had engaged in behaviors with a young man, and she ended up getting a sexually transmitted disease, and it was a very horrific moment in her life. And she was African American, and the majority of our staff, except me, was Caucasian, and they called me in there to help calm her down because of the medical exam. And I said to myself, we matter. This shouldn't be. This 14-year-old, 15-year-old should be laying on a table crying her eyes out because medically what they had to insert inside of her, the speculum, they couldn't even get it in. It was so challenging, for her. And I said, this shouldn't be. And that was truly a turning point for me in regards to women's health, and saying that, I want to make a difference. I want to impact women's lives. I want to make sure that we are doing the things that we should be doing, for ourselves. And to this day, I remember that moment so vividly, because I just remember her tears, just streaming down her face, and just, remember talking to her mom, going out to talk to her mom, bringing her mom in the back, and, talking to her and how just devastated her mom was, that this was happening to her child. So that was a turning point, for me. And then they put me over women's health in the healthcare clinic, where I was actually able to counsel women on health and different test results and, health issues that were going on with them. So from pregnancy tests to to sexually transmitted diseases, to just overall women's health. It was a turning point. So working in that women's health clinic was great. I enjoyed it, and then, like I said, being able to go to Wake County to continue that, it was just awesome. It's just been a great time just to know that I changed women's lives.
Mm-hmm. And you definitely have. You've actually changed some of the people that I've known, growing up through high school and, middle school, just people I've known since, childhood. And then, okay, so what section when you went over to Wake County, you said went over to the maternal
and women's health.
Maternal and women's health.
It's one division.
And what was that like? Because I used to come there a lot. And so what was that like for, that time period?
It was great. It was great being there and doing what I do, writing. I enjoy writing. So writing curriculums, writing modules, writing, and being able to present to people what I was writing and that they were learning from what I was writing, and then, taking it to the community. And I think, when we think of health education, some people just have a view of a little bit about what it is, but it's so vast. So I worked not only in our building, but I had a chance to work in the high schools with the pregnant teens there. I worked in the women's prison, which was wonderfully impactful with the pregnant women there. How are you pregnant in prison? And how do you mentally cope with that? And how do you know that once you birth this baby, you're not going to rear this baby, depending on your time? Some ladies were able to get out before they gave birth, but the majority of the ladies that I worked with were quote unquote more of long timers, meaning that they were not. And if somebody didn't from their family take their baby, then that woman had to give that baby up into foster care. Who would want to do that? As a woman and as a mother, that someone you care for 9 months, and now this is the end result of what happens. But you the person, you think you're going in to do something and change and make an impact, but honestly, those ladies impacted me. Mm-hmm. They changed me. They enlightened me. They showed me life. They showed me, how don't do this. I would never want to be pregnant in prison, anything like that, or wonder how my child was doing outside of these prison gates or anything like that. Those are things they had to think about. And one of the things that after they had their babies, we got to do, or I did with them, is that when I talked about postpartum, which is after a woman has her baby, they got to write letters to their children. Mm. And we would all be in there crying, because they would be, they would say, I'm not going to be here to raise you. I'm not, Mommy's so sorry, and please don't go down the road. And really? Oh my gosh. Like I said, we would all be in there crying, listening to each other's story about, but that was their way of release. It was their way of also in a sense of victory and triumph. They still had a part. And then I would take the letters, I would mail them, for them, and knowing that they got in, good hands and, things like that. And they would put on the envelope when to open the letter. Like if the child was 5, don't open it till they were 5 years old, or don't open it, till their first birthday, or, they even put on the envelope specific instructions to the person rearing them. Now, these letters were going to relatives. They weren't going to like foster care people. They were going to relatives, people who were actually taking the baby. Mm-hmm. So, those were just momentous moments in my career that I value, as a woman to another woman, and to women that I had an opportunity to have a part of their life, but also to have a part. They had a part in my life. They changed me, as well. And then, I'm also a doula who is a labor support person. So since you gave me the mic, I'm just going to keep on rolling.
Yeah,
and just, the honors of another lady allowing you to be in there during her birth, and provide that support. It's an honor. It's an honor. And fortunately, over the 30 years that I've labored women, I have not had an outcome that wasn't positive. We've had some very interesting close calls. Stat coming here, moments where I'm praying like, God, get us through this moments. But there have always been positive, outcomes. And I even remember the first lady that I labored with 31 years ago, 32, he's probably 32 years old now. So that was, just great.
Okay. Well, that was great. I'm over here trying to hold back tears and everything like that. I was
Me
like, that's
too.
good. That was a lot. Yeah, that I mean, I just can't imagine some certain things like that, just because being how close I am with you is just like, I couldn't imagine certain things like that to happen. But did you ever, like, well, just in your personal life, do you ever recall any difficult times that you had to endure, and how'd you get over it?
I think, I don't think anyone goes through life without difficulties. It just depends on, using what's in your hands and making the most of what's been given. And whether it's your decision or someone else's decision, you just got to do it. You got to go through it. So I probably would think I'm bringing us into this. It's just, I was a single parent for a number of years with you, and that was fun.
Yeah.
But challenging, at times, to make sure you always had what you needed, and to not let you know that, hey, we don't have, but you're not going to ever know that we don't have. To wrestle with you on the floor, to play basketball with you, to, go to your basketball games. It was, as I have told you, it's an honor being your mom. You are, God chooses a mom for a child. So when he chose me for you, I've said it to you, it's an honor to be your mom. It's an honor to be Christian's mom. So, I have enjoyed, not that every moment was easy, but I have always enjoyed, being a mom. And so I'm just going to take this moment to say Happy Mother's Day to any woman who has birthed a child, or any woman who hasn't birthed, because I'm a firm believer that you don't have to be a mother to birth a child to be a mother. That any woman who's reared somebody, taken some child under their wing, and been an influence in a child's life, that's a mother to me. You don't have to have a child come out of your body to be a mother. So I just wanted to take that moment before I forgot at the very end, when you say we're closing, just to wish every woman a happy Mother's Day. And thank you so much for what you do, and for the sacrifices you make, because we as women, that's what we do. We know how to make much out of little, use what's in our hands, use our wisdom, use our creativity, all the things God has given us, we use those tools, and we make the most of them. So, so to every woman, happy Mother's Day. Enjoy your day. You deserve it. You're special. You are worth it. You are more than enough. And so I just want to salute all the women there.
Did you ever, what is the most embarrassing story or funniest story that you have about me when I was growing up?
There are plenty. I think the most precious one, if I can use that word, precious one, is I was in the kitchen cleaning. I was in the kitchen cooking, and I out the corner of my eyes, I see you sitting on the deck. And I'm thinking, what's he sitting out there? Because you had a basketball goal out there. So I said, well, I'm just gonna leave him alone. I'm still cooking, and then you're just still sitting there. And finally, I slid the glass door open. I said, Emmanuel, what are you doing? I'm just out here talking to Jesus, Mom. I'm just out here talking to Jesus.
I think I have that picture too. I'm gonna see if I can
do.
slide it in here somewhere, because I vividly kind of remember that too. As I saw the picture too, I'm like, wow. I'm like, oh yeah, I think I remember that moment. I thought you was gonna go with another story.
Basketball?
No, when I was first day of school.
Where you just left me and you just went on into the school?
No. When I fell.
No. I'm good.
It was a fun day. I was very excited.
You were.
Yeah.
You were.
You can tell it. You can tell it.
Okay.
It's fine.
All right. Well, getting out of school, I think it wasn't the first day of school, but it was close to we were in school, so it was still new.
Mm-hmm.
And so you were in the carpool. They would open the door. The children would get out of the. And as you started to run, gravity took over. And you started to run, and so the backpack and the weight, it just, you kept going this way, and then you would gain your balance, and then you went this way. And I, in the car, would say, come on, you can do it. You can do it. Don't fall, man. Don't fall. And you actually did not fall. You regained everything. You regained. You didn't fall, but the weight of everything.
I had to gain balance. I had to get a sense of balance very quickly in life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've had the same head since I was 5.
Yes.
And
no, since birth.
Since birth.
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
I've grown into my head recently, just recently. But
it's not been that bad.
But yeah, that was probably the funniest story I've ever heard that you ever told me. But what's as being a mother, what was the most important thing that you actually learned about yourself?
You can do it. No matter what, you can do it. And just like my stories with my moms or my women that I've had an opportunity to serve, it's the same. Children teach parents. You guys don't come out of our bodies knowing everything, and we don't become parents just because now we're parents. We learn along the way, and you teach us along the way. And having boys in this society, African American men, it's you learn to be alert, and you learn to look at what's going on in this world. And it wasn't that I ever thought that you would have an easy time, but I remember being out at Pullen Park one day, and we were on the slide. Someone was on the slide, and when we came over, she decided to move. She didn't want to be on the slide anymore. And that really, wow, in this day and age, we still deal with race. I mean, we still deal with race today, this very moment, but even then, I thought, wow, my son, I've got to even be more alert for my son, because this is just a slide. I mean, these are babies. I mean, what do they know about race unless we teach them, that we don't associate with this color, we don't, But, in my upbringing, we were taught to love everybody. It didn't matter the color of anybody's skin. But as time went on, that became important for your rearing to me, that I look out for you from that standpoint because of you being an African American male and what this society and what this world might challenge you with. But you've done excellent. So I'm so proud, of you. But I think, can I still say? But I think the most I can say is that, when you told me that, Mom, when my friends would come over, they were coming over not just to see me, but because they knew you would feed them. And you were telling me that some of your friends were hungry and didn't have food, to eat. So that was just such an honor just to be able to serve other African American young men like my son, that I would have wanted any woman, I would want someone to have done the same for you if that had been our portion, which it was not. But, even they, as they would come out when you weren't home. Hey, Miss Donna, what's going on? And they knew you weren't there. And then, of course, what I would do? Oh, come in. You hungry? You want something to eat? Mm-hmm. Come on in. And I would, feed them and, send them on their way. But those were just times of just being a mother to someone else. And that's why I say, those boys that came, I didn't birth them from my body, but I, as you know, I look at all your friends and I look at all Christians' friends as my sons, because I would want some woman to influence and positively influence, my sons as well.
Yeah, all that is completely facts and completely true. And you always had a heart for, everybody, but just like African American males in general, just because of things we go through and everything like that. So, what are some of your your personal goals moving forward as you
Personal goals are to continue to serve women, continue to be a doula, continue to impart dance in young people, and how the body can be used, how the body can be used to tell a story, and how the body can be used to bring joy to someone and to uplift someone and inspire someone just by the movements, we make and the music and the songs that we use. And I consider that an honor that God imparted that, in me. As you said, I have a heart for African American males. So legacy, mentorship program, and eventually, my goal is to have Legacy Leaders Academy.
Boys' school.
Yes, which is my boys' school.
Right.
That's my heart. That's my heart of hearts of hearts, to have Legacy Leaders Academy.
Okay.
A school for boys.
Exactly.
Yes.
And we're gonna make that happen.
Yes.
So last thing, what are some of the, endeavors that you're doing now and as you're retired?
Some of it is nothing, just enjoying. Just enjoying doing whatever I want to do. So I shouldn't say nothing, but just enjoying life and appreciating and sort of full circle that I'm able to be home when Christian comes home.
Right.
That I'm there just like my mom was in that era. And just enjoying my dance school and enjoying, learning to write again, or really going back into that, as well, because I do want to have a line of children's books as well that will be based on the lives of those who I've served and had an opportunity to have in my life and influence.
Right. Well, I appreciate you for, coming up here and partaking this, this talk with me, as we always do. I want to tell you Happy Mother's Day again.
Thank you.
Actually, one thing about, you is that you've always been a server. You've always been one to care for others. I've always seen that growing up in life. You've always been there for me. I just want to say again, thank you. I'm honored to be your son.
Thank you.
And since Daryl has missed my cue, I was supposed to...
Daryl is like, what did I do?
My boy Daryl had missed my cue. Daryl's over there working, guys. Daryl's over there.
He's cracking up. Y'all can't see this.
Daryl has missed my cue.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna do it, and I was gonna.
No, you good. Just pass it. No, you good.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you so much, D. This is my boy right here. It's my boy D behind the camera.
Yeah, D.
Yeah, I just want to tell you, happy Mother's Day.
Thank you so much. He's a beautiful, flowers are one of my favorite gifts. So thank you so much.
No, you're welcome. Hey, this is the Push Effect Podcast, and we're going.